All right, good morning, agents. This is Kevin Lauren, the Director of Training and Marketing here at Alta Realty Group. And today we're going to go over the buyer presentation packet and a few different tools that we've got for you guys. And that way we're positioning ourselves in this new kind of marketplace. And we're making sure that we're positioning ourselves as experts and we want to make sure that our clients understand that of course, we don't work for free, and we provide an amazing service as buyer's agents. So before we get into today's presentation, we're going to bring Bill Seitz, corporate broker for Alta Realty Group, on the line. Bill, good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, we have a lot of new agents on the call this morning, so it's great to see them and all of our regulars as well. So welcome, agents.
Yeah, thanks for joining us for the new agents. The regulars, we always appreciate you as well. And now more than ever, it's important to make this a habit, a weekly habit, because we're all in this industry change environment together. And I'm learning just as much as you're learning. And Kevin's learning as well. And the rest of our crew here at Alta Realty Group. So that being said, we will be continually kind of giving updates every week as these changes and probably some hiccups along the way. Can't expect all this stuff to be rolled out perfectly. That just is, I think, an impossible ask.
That's for
So,
sure.
but we want to go through some of the stuff this morning, and also I think it's a perfect time for Kevin to reintroduce this really beautiful PDF document that you can share with your buyers when you have those conversations, especially when you review the buyer representation agreement and what this means for your client and yourself and the new partnership and all that good stuff. Before we get into some of this stuff, Kevin, that I want to review before that, Debbie had a doctor's appointment that overlapped with today's meeting, so we will let her off the hook. But she has some great information for you guys about concessions and loans and how to structure your deals through seller concession. And so we're going to have to unfortunately curb that discussion until next Wednesday. But just know that Debbie and I were speaking about this just the last couple of days. And I said, hey, this is exactly what realtors are going to hear. Agents structuring their deals. How can they be creative? How can they put things together so it works and everybody can win? And so we're going to review all of that next week on the financing portion of the training, so you guys can be equipped to do that and learn how to present offers that make sense, and also can help your buyers, take some pressure off the buyers as far as feeling obligated to make those compensation payments. So that will be definitely a worthwhile webinar to attend next week, Kevin.
Heck yeah.
In the meantime, if you want to pull up the 10-year treasury, I've already reviewed the financials this morning. I want to share something with everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so there we are. We're sitting at 3.78.
Correct.
And if you look back to, I think it is, you go back to May, basically April, May, we were at basically 4.7. You can even go up a little higher on that chart.
Yeah.
4.71-ish. So you can tell right there to where we were 4 months ago to where we are today. Rates have come down 100 basis points.
Amazing.
That's a big deal. And we always talk about this stuff, on these webinars. That's something you should be talking to your clients about. Rates are now solidly in the sixes, solidly in the low sixes. They're not in the sevens and eights anymore. They're trending down. Before this gets too much lower and a lot of people jump back in, why not get them going now and get them into a property with the upside of refinancing still down the road? And so these are really important things to monitor. And that's why we mention them almost ad nauseum, to keep you guys in the loop, because then that's what we do. We monitor all the financials. We monitor the interest rates. We monitor all the stuff that's going on in the financial world and share it with you guys. So that is the mortgage update for today.
That's very, very good. And we look forward to Debbie's presentation next week. That's going to be very cool. Perfect timing for what's going on. So looking forward to that. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
what better way to figure out how we can get paid, and figure out what will work, and like I said, take pressure off the buyers. I think, this is a absolute mandatory training next Wednesday.
For sure. So we've got a couple really cool tools to share with you today regarding this, all of these different changes. Before we do that, though, I do want to let you guys know that the Sierra system, our CRM and website system, we do have some new compensation fields that we can put in your listing websites. So when you have a listing, you can create, of course, these single property websites, and you cannot put that information into the MLS, but you can put it on a single property website. And what I mean by that is what you're offering a buying agent, right? And so that is a really cool spot, new field. And so when you're in your listings, it's literally right here, buyer's commission. You can put that information right there. So that way you can attract buyer's agents. So of course, still in this world, we're going to want to attract buying agents to sell our listings, right? So nothing's changed there, but we just have to approach it a little bit different. So first thing I want to share with you guys is we have two new templates that are in our Canva account. And so these two different things that you can use slightly differently, okay? And so before we have our, these days, what I want to do is, train everybody that before you even meet with your, your buyers, we're going to have this little template. And let me share my screen, my other screen with you. So this template here is something that you can use. You can email this template to your prospective buyers before you even meet with them. So let's go through this real quick. And so, this is, of course, just what you send before the actual appointment. So the subject line is actions required before the appointment date. And of course, what we're doing here is we're setting ourselves up for success. We're setting ourselves up to present these buyer agreements in a proper way, and to, at the same time, show our worth and what we actually do to represent a buyer. So we're just approaching this in a very, very professional manner now. So, the subject line is actions required before the appointment, right? And you have your date set. So as soon as you set your date, you want to send this email out. So you want to say, as a reminder, our appointment date is at the time and date. And before we meet, I want you to complete these really two simple activities. I'll change that to two. There's another step that we can add in here, which is creating videos that outline the process. And so you could create a series of videos. There's really three that I would recommend, but I'll go into that in a different training. And you're basically going to go over what you're going to be doing in a video. Why not? So that's a separate training. But in this training, we're just going to go over these two simple activities to make the most of our time together. So you're going to want to, client, download your home buyer's guide. So the home buyer's guide is this fun little thing right here. And you're going to, in Canva, you can, customize this. The last person that I helped customize this was Tom. So Tom and I worked on this one, but you're going to be customizing all these different things. Most of it is already completely done for you, but it does describe in detail the buying process, what you're going to be doing, a timeline of the purchase, how these, what is each step comprised of, right? And then, of course, what are the buyer representation benefits? We need to be able to explain and articulate that we are worth the compensation that we're going to be receiving for what we're
Hey,
doing.
Kevin,
Yes.
can you pull up just the front of the PDF so they
Excuse me? This part?
just the one that's in Canva with the family in the front?
Oh yeah, this one. Oh, sorry, this one, right?
Yeah, my screen it still has the Alta buyer.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, just as you're talking through it, I was like, oh wait, let's show them. Let's
It
show
would
them.
help. It would help if I showed the actual right screen, right?
There you go. There you go.
Here we go. So, this is going to, actually describe what we do. Okay. So this is, thank you, Bill. So this is your home buyer's guide, right? And so, nice little picture of a family there. And you can change the pictures out. Of course, Canva is super easy to use. But we have, here's Tom's information here. So of course, we are customizing this to all of your individual information in Canva, but it does go through a whole timeline of purchase. It goes through the benefits and, shows, exactly why we deserve getting that compensation again. So choosing your agent, critical questions to ask, buying power, and then buying power really, detailed so they can go through this little math problem by themselves. They can make sure that they know exactly, before they even meet you. Oh, this gives me a good idea of exactly what I can afford. Most people, have an idea of that, but this could really hone it in for them. And saving for a down payment. So there's all kinds of great information that you're going to be providing to your client before you even meet with them, right? So this is all very, very important stuff. Here's Tom's information. Of course, you'll put your own information here, and away you go. And so what you're going to want to do is create this as a PDF. You'll download it. You'll create this as a PDF, and you can do a couple different things. You can even put this in a page on your website, and you can include that link when you go over and you send this email. So let me switch screens again. So that would be right here. You would put that link in, and that would be your home buyer's guide. Also, we're going to have our you're going to say, hey, yes, also you can review my buyer presentation. And so our next step is to customize and to include a link to the buyer presentation. So let's take a look what that looks like. So the buyer presentation is this lovely little graphic that goes through the consulting agenda, what we're going to do in our meeting together. So this is literally what you're going to be using as your guide as you're presenting your, to your buyers what the home buying process is. So here's a team. You can put in your little, all your people. How's the market? You can put in current information. You call up Debbie Saccone, figure out exactly what the current rates are, put that information in there. You can, here's a great little, graphic. It shows on average why, sellers will work with buyers, agents. Recent purchases, you can put in, things that you've sold recently. You can count on me to keep you up to date, advise you on your home selection, negotiate the best deal. So this is another just like, you're reiterating the kinds of things that you do as the buying agent. Professional real estate services, these are the different things that are very important, right? Next steps, let's discuss financing. Let's start the home search. Let's schedule, some home tours, right? Review the paperwork. And then of course you'll have a closing slide that just has some basic information and some contact stuff. So these two graphics and these two, pieces can be used very, very simply to position yourself as the absolute expert and the reason why you should be, hired by a buying or by a buyer. So easy thing is in Canva, as you guys know, all you have to do is select which one you're going to be using, or which template you're going to be using, and you can go in and you can actually customize pretty much anything in here. So super simple to use. If you don't have a Canva account yet, all you have to do is go to our Agent Resource Center. And click on Canva. And you can sign up for Canva right here. $7 a month. So, and in Canva, in case you don't know, we have a ton of different branding. They're already branded, but they're already, they already have the logos. We have all kinds of designs, really everything that you need for sale sign, or I'm sorry, for sale flyers, templates for listing flyers, all those different things are here. We also have our client welcome kit, which I always think that everybody should have, even if this is for buyers and sellers. Client welcome kit, very, very cool, very easy to customize. I have a complete tutorial on how to do that in our YouTube channel. So super simple to download Canva, have access to all these different templates and these different designs. Bill, any questions so far?
Sorry, there I was having to unmute myself. No, I like this because the fact that it can be branded to each particular agent. So once again, I think we're so used to not really having a formal process with buyers. And now we're kind of being forced to do that with the agreement, because your buyer broker agreement is a contract between you and the buyer. They've always been there, but let's just be honest. And I think most of us, if we are honest, didn't really use them. And I know that I, in particular, didn't use them because most of my, I don't do a lot of buyer stuff anymore, but when I did, most of it was by referral. So, I wasn't super concerned about them jetting off and screwing me with the other agent around town. But now that it's mandatory to have a written agreement with the terms of your compensation and all these new rules and guidelines, what better way to have that piece of it with a really nice looking branded document that supports what you're doing, supports the new process. And it's, if you brand this and make it your own, and to fit your personality or the way you want to present yourself. I mean, what a great tool.
For sure. And so really what we're doing is we're just serving up the the buyer broker agreement in a very different way now. Don't you agree, Bill?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's much more transparent. And when we're kind of done with this little piece, I'm going to walk in a couple other pieces to that point. But, you really have to have this conversation. The days are gone where you're just going to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to just show you some homes and, we'll get to that later. I highly advise against that.
No. Now we have to literally do an about face and, treat this. I forget who it was that I think it was on an RIS webinar that you and I attended, and they said that you just need to treat your buyers like listing agents or like sellers.
That's right.
So it's a completely different way to look at it. And so utilizing these tools and this strategy is a great way to position yourself to where, yeah, I'm putting out this buyer broker agreement because this is what my time's worth. This is what your time's worth. I'm a professional. You expect professionality, as a client and as a buyer. And so you're really setting the tone, right?
No, 100%. And people like to see that. People are visual. People want to see, nice color professional document accompanying with the buyer representation agreement. Just makes you look professional. If you just show up with this contract and you're just kind of telling them, you know what I mean? It's not going to be as well received. Sorry, I got stuck there on my word. Not as well received. And so I think, if we polish up the process, it'll be, get a few under these under your belt, and we'll never look back. It'll just be what we do.
For sure. And so this is also kind of fun. Is you can, in Canva, Canva does printing too, so you can print this with Canva. Look, for $21, you can create this really lovely, full color magazine. So that's not a bad strategy either. You show up, of course you send them the digital version, but then you show up with this, gorgeous, magazine quality looking thing in your hand to give them, right? So that's really cool. So a lot of different things that you can do, and I want you guys to get creative with this stuff. And this is just a template, right? I want you guys to look at this guide and say, well, this is great, but I'm going to add this, and that. I'm going to add my own language, right, Bill?
Yeah, maybe the community they're going to live in. Maybe you want to add stuff about the school district. Maybe you want to add stuff about the community itself and what the different price points or the recent comps and sales. Like you said, you can customize this so easy, and you're going to look like an absolute all-star.
All-star, and this is exactly the kind of the thing that you can use to separate yourself from other agents, and this is what we need to do right now. This is what we need to do all the time, but especially right now.
Well, and to that point, you got to remember now, our buyers agents are buyers going to be interviewing buyers agents, possibly, yes. Right? And now you're going to have to explain maybe you're going up against another buyer's agent. Now the buyer knows that they potentially are going to be on the hook for compensation. Well, if you don't come with your A game and you don't come looking sharp and professional and polished, and you've got somebody else that's going to potentially undercut you or look more professional than you, it's just like going to a listing presentation almost now. You got to remember that. So it's a completely, it's not a foregone conclusion that, this is now a negotiation between buyer's agent and buyer.
Yeah.
Now, to that point, it is my opinion, and I truly believe this, that 80% or more of all sales, the compensation will still be paid for by the seller in some capacity. However, all these little variables still come into play on the front end.
Oh, yes, they do.
And it's tricky. It's tricky because if you put into the buyer representation agreement 1%, and the seller was willing to offer 2.5%, well, you're getting 1%.
Yeah.
You don't get the overage. So the challenge potentially is to explain to Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, I have this in at 2.5%. I'm confident in my ability to negotiate this for you. This can always, go down. We're not stuck here, but this is, whatever however you address the conversation. Remember, what's on that contract is what sticks. Can't go up. You can only go down.
That's well said.
So there's a couple things too. I don't know, Kev, if you're kind of done with that portion.
Yeah, yeah, no, those are the three, tools that I'll make available to everybody in in the replay.
Perfect. And so I also want to address yesterday's broker Tuesday tip. That was, let me pull up the form here. I think that was the DMLA form. So if you currently have a listing that's not, under contract, I guess. So it's a one-page form. It's disclosure and modification of listing agreement. This needs to be signed by your seller. And basically it runs through, what's happened with the NAR settlement and how MLSs are no longer advertising compensation in the MLS. And so you need to have this conversation with your seller, let them know. And, if they're not aware that what they thought they were offering is now no longer being publicized in the MLS, that's a problem, right? So you basically need to have this conversation with them, have them sign it. It's a one-page form. It's pretty straightforward. It's not anything complicated. This is one of the few forms that's not complicated. But if you have a listing, please make sure you are pulling that form up, getting that up to your sellers the next day or so, preferably today. Because this is a required document, and once again, it's the DMLA form. And we did send some information out about that yesterday in the broker Tuesday tip. And then just a couple more things, Kevin. I'm going through my notes here because we did attend I don't know if you call it training, more of like a symposium, think tank, industry leader type thing last week. We mentioned it last week on the webinar. Really what they want to do and what they want to see happen, and this is important to understand, is avoid broker to broker compensation. Well, what does that mean? Well, broker to broker compensation is, in the past, Mr. and Mrs. Alta agent goes to Mr. and Mrs. Seller, says, hey, I'll sell your home. And 5% will be the, commission or compensation rate. Of that 5%, I'm offering 2.5% to an outside agent, right? That goes publicized into the MLS. But that 5% in the listing agreement was being paid to Alta Realty Group, right? So that 5% is technically contractually going to Alta Realty Group. And then once the property is under contract and an escrow, now we're going broker to broker. Maybe it's a Remax agent, maybe it's a first team agent, maybe whatever. It's Century 21. So now we're paying broker to broker, right? They want to get, they want that to go away because, part of this lawsuit was, nothing, a lot of things not being transparent. So, buyer or sellers, having to pay for a buyer's agent's commission, and the money is now going to, from broker to broker. Now, what they want to have happen, let's say you fill out your buyer broker agreement. I'm representing Kevin. I say, Kevin, that my compensation to do my service fee is 2.5%. Kevin signs it, says, great. I'm telling Kevin, I'm confident I can, get you probably mostly off the hook on this thing. And now when we present the offer to, a Coldwell Banker agent and the seller is now deciding to pay me seller to Alta, not seller all of it to Coldwell Banker and Coldwell Banker back to Alta. I hope that makes sense.
For sure.
They want the sellers to be acknowledging where the monies are coming, from them going to the buyer's brokerage, not broker to broker. And that was a big problem with the settlement. So My advice is to do this. If you're going to go take a listing, just take the listing with your compensation for the listing fees. Prepare your seller that, hey, let's be open to all offers and all terms of offers. Let's focus on what's going to get you net you what you need to move from A to B, or whatever you need to get return on your investment. Let's focus on that number and not how we get there. Because Mr. Seller, you're probably going to get, receive offers that are going to have compensation in those offers for the buyer's agent. So it's really important to have these conversations with the seller and explain the process. And so it's fully transparent. Seller can agree or not agree, but when they do agree, the seller is really, it's going from the seller, their proceeds, to the other brokerage, and not broker to broker. And so if I'm taking a listing personally, I am going to go in that, I'm doing that route. I'm going, hey, this is my services, 2.5%, 3%, depending on the situation. I'm going to explain to the seller, look, we're probably going to get all sorts of types of offers, and how they're, whether they're through concessions or just through paying compensation to the buyer's agent. But, let's focus on what you're getting to move on out of this investment or out of this asset, whatever. And so I really encourage you guys to start thinking in those terms. And not to mention, if you go in and you take, let's say a seller's interviewing multiple agents, and you go in and say, okay, well, compensation is going to be 5% and blah, blah, blah. Well, the smart agent's going to go in and say, my services are 2.5%. Right? Why would you leave that door open to lose the listing? You know what I mean? You can address the compensation through offers coming from the buyer side. But if you go in there and take the listing at 5%, somebody else is going to tell the seller, hey, look, I'll do it for 2.5%, and the buyer's agent is going to, what I mean? There's an angle for somebody to take you out.
Yeah.
So if you just address it on your end, right, between you and the seller, and then through the transaction, through the negotiation, then you address it seller to buyer's agent. That's the cleanest. That's going to keep you out of trouble. It's going to reduce exposure to the agent and to the brokerage, and that's really ideally what they want.
Yeah, so that's literally the best practice right now.
I believe so. And so, it just seems cleaner. It just seems easier. I don't, you know what I mean? That would be my advice to all of you guys that have listings coming up. And if you need to chat about it one-on-one, I'm happy to speak to you about it, or, individual circumstances. But that to me is the cleanest, best way to stay out of trouble and to, just operate on like I said, in a clean fashion.
For sure. No, I appreciate that, Bill. So yeah, so those are the tools that we're providing at this point. Those two Canva, really beautiful Canva graphics that you guys can customize. And I'll make sure that in the replay that I send out, it also has that email template, because that's going to be really key as well, because that's going to set up the buyer for exactly what they can expect in that presentation and in that meeting. So really cool stuff, guys. Important that we, hone our skills, we hone, our professional, our professionalism as all of these things change. So appreciate you guys, of course, being on the Wednesday webinar with us. Bill, thank you for your insights today. Appreciate it as always.
Yes, sir.
And agents, get out there, make it a great week and a productive week. And we will see you guys on the webinar next Wednesday. Bye-bye.